Hey, what's up guys, it's Scares here. Now our first story of today comes from DrDisrespect. So Doc tweeted this out last night. He says here, I think the gaming industry needs an award show that focuses on things that really matter. Examples, best multiplayer map design, best weapon skin design, best single player level, best menu music, funniest clip, gameplay clip of the year, etc, etc. It's settled next year. And the official esports awards responded to Doc here saying, we hear you. We will happily give you a dedicated section of our show to run this, including at the ceremony in Arlington next year. Black and red trophies are optional. So it really does look like Doc is getting his own award show next year. I mean, he is making huge moves right now. Now, our next story of today comes from the YouTuber FaZe Rain. Now, FaZe Rain has not uploaded a lot of videos lately, and that's because 2020 has been one of his worst years of his life. He just tweeted this out a few months ago, and he's obviously had a very, very rough year this year. Now, one very well-known YouTuber known as DALLMYD is actually reaching out to FaZe Rain. Last night, he tweeted this out. He says, hey, FaZe Rain, I'm reaching out to let you know that you're welcome to join me on an adventure with no cameras. I've got some great ideas I'm sure you'll have fun with. Take me up on the offer, buddy. I'll pay for your flight and stay. So DALLMYD is straight up just saying here, you know what, Rain? Let's have a trip and let's have you clear your mind. I'm not going to bring any cameras. We're not going to film anything, but I'm going to pay for your flight and I want to actually help you out here. And obviously because of this, so many fans are showing their support to DALLMYD and FaZe Rain and they want to see this actually happen. Now our next story of today comes from Jake Paul. Now I'm sure we all know that only a few days ago, Jake Paul actually fought the NBA star Nate Robinson on the undercard of the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. fight. Now obviously this was a huge event. You had millions of people watching live when Jake Paul actually knocked out Nate Robinson on the second round. So obviously Jake had one of the biggest wins of his career here. Now after the fight, Jake actually decided to throw a massive party to celebrate winning his fight here. Now Jake's own parents, his brother Logan, Tana Mojo, and other well-known YouTubers were also present at this party. Now people were very upset with Jake Paul for doing this because no one at the party was wearing face masks and there was literally hundreds of people there at this party. And also, this was on the same day that California and LA started new mandatory lockdowns prohibiting gatherings of all types. And now people are asking, what is going to happen to Jake Paul? Because in the past, Jake Paul threw parties during the pandemic and he was in some serious trouble. So it looks like Jake might get into even more trouble for throwing this party after he won his fight. Now I'm sure some of you are asking, how much money did Jake actually make for this fight with Nate Robinson? I mean, it was literally the biggest boxing event of 2020, right? Mike Tyson obviously pulled a ton of viewers for this event, and people are asking how much money did Jake Paul actually make here? Well, Keemstar came out yesterday and he says that one of Jake Paul's close sources tell him that Jake has made over $3 million from the pay-per-view sales. Just watch this.
I got a text after my drum alert came out. Jake, from someone in Jake Paul's team, they said that Jake is going to make anywhere between $3 and $5 million for last night's fight. So just want to clarify.
So after Keemstar posted this, people were obviously very shocked because that's a lot of money to make for only doing 2 rounds of boxing. And Jake actually responded saying, not true. I'm making $10 million plus depending on the pay-per-view sales. Now late last night, Jake Paul released a video to his YouTube channel where he is calling out KSI here. It's only a minute long video, but you can tell that Jake now really wants to fight KSI.
Sup, fucker? Listen, stop making it about the money, KSI. Let's get the fight happening. You're scared, bro. I know you are. I'm a real dog. I just became the biggest prize fighter overnight. A side. Feels good to be on the A side. But look, we can get you a decent amount of money. We'll talk to your manager, you know. Obviously I'm getting more, but it's gonna happen. So just sign the contract, bro. I know your music career is not doing shit right now. I feel bad for you, bro. You're just a fat dude with man titties in England making laugh challenge videos. You are dumb.
Now, ever since Jake won his fight with Nate, a lot of professional athletes have been trying to call out the Paul brothers to fight them, and the Major League Baseball star Jose Canseco is one of them. He says, I will fight any one of the Logan brothers. They have enough for anyone with any type of talent yet or fighting skills. So Jose Canseco himself wants to actually fight one of the Paul brothers here, and Logan Paul responded saying, no problem, I love smashing Cansecos. Now, another athlete has decided to call out Jake Paul here. Actually, the NHL star Evander Kane tweeted this out at Jake Paul last night. He says, says, yo, Jake Paul, I'd wreck you. Easy to beat up guys with no experience and who are much smaller. August 31st, 2021, Vegas. We can see if you are really about that action. Hashtag your move. So even Evander Kane has come out now and he wants to fight Jake Paul. He's challenging Jake Paul here. Now, Jake has not yet responded to him, but this tweet has almost 50,000 likes in only a day. Now, obviously, the main event during this whole boxing match was Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. And Mike Tyson himself has come out here and said that boxing should be thankful for YouTubers and that creators like Jake Paul should be given a belt. So Mike Tyson is actually giving a ton of credit to YouTube stars for helping revive boxing. Now, our final story of today comes from Pokimane again. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what happened here, Pokimane was recently exposed by one of her former best friends, Fedmyster. He had made a 25-page long Google document. Now, this was a completely secret document. He did not mean to have this leaked, but one of his friends had actually leaked this to the public, and it has completely blown up over the last few days. I mean, this has been such a huge situation. Now, in this document, Fedmyster had even shown proof with text conversations that he had with Pokimane, and it did make Pokimane look very bad here. And she's been getting a ton of backlash ever since. She even had to go on her stream and explain herself here, and she still is getting a lot of hate. Well, it turns out that Pokimane herself has come out with her own Google document on Fedmyster. That's right, last night, she posted her document here. It's 11 pages long, and she actually goes off on Fedmyster. She claims here that Fedmyster was lying in his own Google document, and she shows proof with text conversations between her and Fedmyster here. So this is how Pokimane starts this off. She says, I've talked about my experience with Fed in the past, and I am really disappointed that leaked and misleading messages have made it necessary for me to respond once again. I feel forced to share my side of the story, now with evidence and context, to hopefully close this chapter once and for all. Knowing how much it hurts to have private conversations leaked, I didn't want to have it come to sharing more information that is also private to Fed and my friends involved. Out of respect for their privacy, I'll only be talking about some of the things that were already shared and what my friends are comfortable with. So Pokimane then goes on to talk about how she first found out about this Google document that Fedmyster had made about her. I found out about this document weeks ago because one of Fed's own viewers DM'd one of the Offline TV members with a link to it. I was horrified that a viewer of his had such private messages of mine, and I immediately contacted Fed. We spent a couple days talking things through and coming to an understanding on how to handle things. I also informed him how the document was shared with me, so he was well aware of the specific person who was doing this. She then goes on to say here that a lot of her close friends ended up seeing this document before it was public, and she says, every time my privacy was further violated, I would tell Fed, and he would tell me that he'd speak to this viewer and have the Google Docs deleted. It kept happening multiple times afterwards, making it hard for me to believe that he didn't want it to be shared. So she claims here that she thinks that Fed wanted to share this document in the first place. Now, obviously, this is Pokimane's word against Fedmyster's here because he said that he did not want this document to be shared at all. So one of the things in Fedmyster's original document here that he says that Pokimane lied about is that she said here that he wanted Yvonne fired. And he says that was a complete lie and that he knows that he did not want her fired and he did not try to get her fired in any way. Well, Pokimane actually refutes that in this document here. She said here, because I was so close to Fed, he would rant or vent to me about others a lot. Yvonne was a sore topic for him and he would continuously complain about her. He would complain that he was taking on her workload and that she would deny his attempts to get her to do work on Offline TV and stream instead. Looking back at this now, no one can blame Yvonne for wanting to avoid him, but no one knew what Fed did at the time. And Pokimane shared text conversations between her and Fedmyster from back in 2019. And Fed is actually venting about Yvonne here, saying that he was asking her to do work and he wanted to speak with her and she did not want to speak with him. And she actually just immediately went and played some video games. Now what Pokimane is saying here is maybe the reason why Yvonne did not want to help out Fed and she wanted to avoid him and not speak with him is because of what happened before. And if you don't know what happened before, Fed had actually made unwanted advances towards Yvonne, okay? He was really drunk and he went onto her bed and he kissed her hand. And obviously this was a very, very big deal. This is actually the main reason why he was kicked from Offline TV. But she's now saying that maybe looking back, this is why Yvonne did not want to speak with Fed. She wanted to avoid him at all costs. Pokimane then claims here that Fedmyster had actually complained to other members of Offline TV about Yvonne and that he was one of the main people who tried to get her fired here. So she's saying that he is lying in his document when he says that he did not try to get Yvonne fired. Now, one of the main things that Fedmyster was saying in his document here is that he thinks that him and Pokimane could have been more than friends. I mean, with some of the text that he was showing, it really did seem like they were flirting a lot with each other, and it seemed like maybe they were more than friends. So Pokimane talks about their relationship here. She says, Fed was my closest friend for a long time. During the Offline TV Taiwan trip in February of 2018, we became closer and considered pursuing a relationship. So this is where a lot of the flirty texts shown in Fed's document are from. A couple months later, after after he visited me in Canada and we traveled back home together, I told him I didn't want to be more than friends, around May of 2018. Weeks later, Offline TV held a party where I expressed interest in meeting a specific person, later referred to as Steve, which is a fake name that they're using right now. After the party, Steve confided in me that Fed told him that Fed and I currently had a thing and asked Steve not to tell anyone. This really upset me and I felt like it was a massive breach of trust, especially since it happened after I told Fed that I only wanted to be friends. I confronted Fed about this immediately and he apologized. Prior to my stream where I spoke about Yvonne and Lily's situations with Fed, I messaged him to give him a heads up and he specifically asked me not to bring it up to the public. And she shows actually a text conversation here where Fed did not want her to talk about this to anyone, okay? And Pokimane then shows here that her friend Jeanette had actually said here that Fedmyster admitted to her that he lied to Steve. So it looks like this actually proves that Fedmyster lied in his original document about the Steve situation and that he knowingly lied to him, at least according to Pokimane's friend Jeanette. Pokimane then says here, this is why it's so difficult for me to believe him when he just now, years after the incident and months after it became public, attempts to deny it. Fed has been known as a serious flirt. This was brought up several times in an intervention we held for Fed where several girls in our close friend circle spoke on situations where he crossed boundaries and made them feel uncomfortable. For a long time, we all thought his flirtatious tendencies were just an innocent and natural part of who he is. I admit and take responsibility for the times that I later reciprocated and the ways in which this could have complicated our friendship. I would also constantly hear of all the ways he flirted with the other girls and often saw it on his stream as well, which made any reciprocations feel casual and insignificant. It may have been naive, but it was far from how he'd been attempting to portray me. So Pokimane then goes on to say here that she had actually revealed to Fed her relationships because she was trying not to lead him on into thinking that they could be a thing, and she says Fed also had a habit of sleeping in the girls' beds, Lily's, Yvonne's, and mine. Offline TV viewers might remember this because it was something that we spoke of as an odd habit, and we thought the sleepovers were strange but harmless and just for fun. Fed clearly enjoyed the comfort and intimacy he could find in his friendships with many girls, and I was no exception. Unfortunately, he also had a habit of pushing that boundary not only with me but with other girls as well, which was difficult for us to properly manage while considering the larger friendship circle and dynamic. And this is one of the main reasons why Fed was actually kicked from Offline TV, because of one of these instances where he pushed that boundary. So then Pokimane says here that their friendship was complicated and there were times we unintentionally hurt each other. And she asked the question, would it have been possible to cut things off completely? Fed was my closest friend at the time, my roommate, and my coworker in talent at Offline TV. Anytime I tried to reinforce that I just wanted to be friends, we were always in the same vicinity and he would attempt to flirt and push that boundary again. So it looks like there was a huge misunderstanding going on in this relationship between Fed and Pokimane, and she claims here that there was massive pressure for them to interact with each other on camera, streams, and vlogs. She then says here we'd also have several conversations, both in real life and over text, pertaining to the complications of our friendship, as it wasn't a one-sided issue. Over time, I learned how to properly draw that boundary, and these issues slowly became less frequent. So the texts that we saw from Fed were from back in 2018, but she's saying here that it actually became less of an issue when she started to realize how to deal with the situation. So Pokimane then talks about the text conversations that Fed had shared, and she claims that some of these conversations were taken out of context and misrepresented on his document. She went on to say here, Fed included messages of hotel room discussions that were misleading and taken out of context. To clarify, a few of us wound up in Vegas at the same time around December 6th of 2018. I was there for a sponsored event with Lily, while Fed and some other friends were there separately for fun. I messaged him and told him we, plural as in myself and the other girls, had a hotel room. I wanted for us to all stay together in his much larger room for fun, unless he wanted to stay alone so that he could be at liberty to bring any girl home with him. So all four of us, me, Lily, Fed, and Yvonne, stayed together in Fed's room for the entirety of the Vegas trip. To reiterate, Fed and I never stayed alone. There's a photo and video proof of this, and this interaction was not intended to be romantic or suggestive, nor did anything happen between us. If anything, I felt that it shows I was encouraging him to see other people and wanted to make sure I gave him enough space to comfortably do so. So these actually show the text conversations in a completely different light here, and it makes Fedmyster look like he was misrepresenting some of their conversations to make it look like they were both being romantic with each other, when in reality, she just wanted him to get with other girls. So Pokey then says here, it's extremely frustrating to see so many private and old incidents misrepresented to intentionally favor him. It's also difficult to properly show my perspective without further invading Fed's privacy or the other girls' privacy. I hope that anyone reading this can try to be understanding of that. In summary, I hear a lot of hurt feelings in Fed's statement when it comes to our friendship. I cared about Fed a lot and wouldn't have wanted to hurt him. His feelings are valid and a good reminder to me that what one person thinks may be going on in a friendship doesn't always match up with the other person's expectations. Looking back, I would have done things a lot differently and know for a fact that neither of us handled this situation perfectly. However, our private conversations heavily lack context and I'm not okay with how they're being misrepresented. Now, we've decided to actually skip over a lot of the stuff in this document here because I just feel like a lot of you are not that interested in this story, but this whole situation is still very serious to both Pokimane and Fedmyster, so obviously we wanted to share this document with you guys and we'll keep you guys updated on if Fedmyster does respond here. Now, I will leave a link to the full document in the description down below, and Pokimane ends off this document here saying, ultimately, my complicated and volatile friendship with Fed had no part in why he was kicked out of offline TV, and such private details never needed to be public. It has been extremely jarring to have my privacy violated by somebody I trusted for so long. Out of respect to my friends who were mentioned in these conversations, they were all shown the text and were of course given the option to decline any convos from being included. If any parts of the convos were blocked, I have done so to maintain privacy for them and will not disclose that information. I hope this context shows my side of the story and helps put this to rest. Okay, so I'm sure we all know at this point that Fedmyster's original 25-page long document was not leaked by Fed himself. It was someone else who was friends with him who thought he had been wronged and they leaked this document to the public, okay? Well, this person has actually come out and released their own Google document about the situation. So this person says, I'll do my best to make this brief. I have been a fan of Fed's for 3 years, and in that time we have become friends in a private Discord DM. Fed learned that he could trust me, and because of this, I knew a lot more of the truth of his life outside of streaming. When Fed got canceled, I gave him my support, but also my disappointment, and he apologized for letting me down. We talked a lot about everything. A few days later, he told me he was completely disconnecting from all social media. He gave me his phone number and said I could text him now and then, but he was really trying to let everything go right now. I respected that and maybe texted him 2 to 3 times over the next few weeks, mainly just words of encouragement around staying sober because I had experience with this subject. So after Fed was traveling and decompressing from the situation he was in, he started to get caught up on everything that was said about him from his friends. He was shocked. He asked me to give him my word and I did, and at the time I 100% meant it. He was trusting me. He started to share things with me. Most of the texts from him and Pokey did not surprise me, but when he started to show me more, just like Destiny started to see, I started to understand more and more, and I was now in shock. I started to have sympathy for him, but also started to get angry. To put it lightly, what was shown and discussed in the Pokey document is 30 to 40% of what could have been included. I know 25 pages is a lot, but I understand he was coming from a place of complete mistrust by everyone. As time went on, Fed opened a document and started writing. He led me into the doc and I would help with dates, grammar, and layout, but the words are 100% Fedmyster's. As time passed, he made a few documents. The Pokey doc was not the only one. All of them were written in a form to appear as though they were speaking to the public, but he made them all to give to specific people they were about, not the public. They were only to show his side of things with the intention of opening up discussions with them and attempting to move forward towards healing their friendships that clearly had a lot of misunderstandings from both sides. So this person made it very clear here that Fedmyster did not want this original document to be leaked. So then why did this person decide to leak this document to the public? Well, they say here that they felt strongly that Fed had his issues with Pokey and that they were still very much affecting him. All along, over the 5 months after he was kicked out, we spoke daily and he had clear intentions. But when he finally contacted her after 2 to 3 phone calls with Pokimane, that all changed. I had told myself from day one that I would hold my word to him, but I knew that he had one major weakness and I hoped that he had finally let go and moved on. But after those few calls with Pokey, his whole mindset completely changed and it became clear that he was going to take the full hit and she was going to do very little to change the public's opinion of him that was all based on her one stream about him. Throughout their conversations, 2 things were very clear. Fed was only interested in getting his friends back, and 2, Pokey was only interested in protecting her image. I knew he would know it was me. I knew he would be furious with me. I knew he would cut me off as a friend and never speak with me again. But I also knew what I was about to do was the truth and that I cared more about him and his ability to have a future and less about having him as my Discord buddy. I couldn't sit by and let him drown himself. I felt he wasn't in a healthy mindset and was making these decisions because of his issues. Decisions I knew someday, years from now, he would regret. So I leaked it. So this is why this whole situation happened. This is why this has been the biggest controversy of 2020. This person decided to leak this document. It's because they thought that Fed was being wronged so badly that it would affect him for years to come. And this actually really did ruin their friendship. Like, this person shows Discord conversations that they had with Fed after this was leaked a couple days ago, and he is absolutely furious furious with this person. I mean, you can tell he is just done with this person forever because they leaked this document. But this person's saying, you know, they had to do it because they felt like he was being wronged so badly. But now, according to Pokimane, Fedmyster's original document had a lot of misunderstandings here. So, I mean, who is telling the truth here? Is it Pokimane? Is it Fedmyster? Is it something in between? I mean, at this point, we will never know because apparently there's still a lot of information on this story that is still private and will never go public. Now, while I was making this video, Fedmyster has released yet another Google document to Pokimane's response. That's right, these guys are making Google documents about each other every single day now, and honestly, I'm not going to talk about this document in this video. I'm going to cover it more extensively in probably my next video, but if you guys do want to see this for yourselves, I'll leave a link in the description down below. And that's it for our video today, guys. Hopefully you enjoy. If you did, please be sure to leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you later. Peace.